Okay. Welcome to this online worship service for First Parish Church of Kingston, Massachusetts. My name is Jane Ford, and I will be the worship leader for this service. Kathy Kay will be our Zoom associate. Our theme this morning is hope and resilience. We have all faced many difficult challenges in the past year, and it is my hope that this service will bring some joy into your life. If you have your chalice now, please get it ready. And if mine stops being cranky, I will light it this morning. Yes. So here is my chalice for the morning. We gather this hour as a people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning in celebration of the life we share together. Our opening hymn this morning is Brave with Sarah Bareilles and the One Voice Children's Choir.
You can be amazing, you can turn a phrase into a weapon or a drug. You can be the outcast or be the backlash of somebody's lack of love.
Or you can start speaking up. Nothing's gonna hurt you the way the words do when they settle neath your skin.
Kept on the inside and no sunlight, sometimes a shadow wins. But I wonder what would happen if you say what you wanna say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I wanna see you be brave with what you wanna say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I wanna see you be brave. Just wanna see you. I just wanna see you. I just wanna see you. I wanna see you be brave. Just wanna see you. I just wanna see you. Just wanna see you. I wanna see you be brave.
Everybody's been there, everybody's been stared down by the enemy.
Falling for the fear and dancing, disappearing. Bow down to the mighty. Don't run. Just stop holding your tongue. Maybe there's a way out of the cage where you live. Maybe one of these days you can let the light in. Show me how big your brave is. Say what you wanna say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I wanna see you be brave with what you wanna say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I wanna see you be brave.
And since your history of silence won't do you any good, did you think it would? Let your words be anything but empty.
Why won't you tell them the truth? Say what you wanna say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I wanna see you be brave with what you wanna say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I wanna see you be brave. Just wanna see you. I just wanna see you. I just wanna see you. I wanna see you be brave. Just wanna see you. I just wanna see you. Just wanna see you. I wanna see you be brave.
Okay, our time for all ages this morning is a story about a brave little donkey that Amanda Pine and her daughters Casey and Jamie will share with us.
Hi, this is the story of the farmer and the donkey. One day, a farmer's donkey fell down into a well. The animal cried piteously for hours as the farmer tried to figure out what to do. Finally, he decided the animal was old and the well needed to be covered up anyway. It just wasn't worth it to retrieve the donkey. He invited all of his neighbors to come over and help him. They all grabbed a shovel and began to shovel dirt into the well. At first, the donkey realized what was happening and cried horribly. Then, to everyone's amazement, he quieted down. A few shovel loads later, the farmer finally looked down the well. He was astonished at what he saw. With each shovel of dirt that hit his back, the donkey was doing something amazing. He would shake it off and take a step up. As the farmer's neighbors continued to shovel dirt on top of the animal, he would shake it off and take a step up. Pretty soon, everyone was amazed as the donkey stepped up over the edge of the well and happily trotted off. Life is going to shovel dirt on you, all kinds of dirt. The trick to getting out of the well is to shake it off and take a step up. Each of our troubles is a stepping stone. We can get out of the deepest wells just by not stopping, never giving up. Shake it off and take a step up. Thanks.
Thank you, Amanda, Casey, and Jamie, for telling us about that brave little donkey. Now we're going to have 3 readings. First, Adam Agella will read Wendell Berry's The Peace of Wild Things.
Peace of Wild Things by Wendell Berry. When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives might be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things, who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time, I rest in the grace of the world and am free.
My share screen is not working well this morning, so I am assuming you saw that. Thank you, Adam. I'm sure many of you have heard of Amanda Gordon since her reading at the recent inauguration. This morning, Chris Page will share another of Amanda's poems called The Miracle of Morning.
Good morning. Though I can't match Amanda Gorman's spirited readings of her own poetry, her poems are so accessible and have so much in them that speaks to our world today that I think even without her voice will still come through. The Miracle of Morning. I thought I'd waken to a world in mourning, heavy clouds crowding, a society storming. But there's something different on this golden morning, something magical in the sunlight, wide and warming. I see a dad with a stroller taking a jog. Across the street, a bright-eyed girl chases her dog. A grandma on a porch fingers her rosary. She grins as her young neighbor brings her groceries. While we might feel small, separate, and all alone, our people have never been more closely tethered. The question isn't if we'll weather this unknown, but how we will weather this unknown together. So on this meaningful morn, we mourn, we mend. Like light, we can't be broken, even when we bend. As one, we will defeat both despair and disease. We stand with healthcare heroes and all employees, with families, libraries, schools, waiters, artists, businesses, restaurants, and hospitals hit hardest. We ignite not in the light, but in the lack thereof. For it is in loss that we truly learn to love. In this chaos, we will discover clarity. In suffering, we must find solidarity. For it's our grief that gives us gratitude, shows us how to find hope if we ever lose it. So ensure that this ache wasn't endured in vain. Do not ignore the pain. Give it purpose. Use it. Read children's books. Dance alone to DJ music. Know that this distance will make our heart grow fonder. From a wave of woes, our world will emerge stronger. We'll observe how burdens braved by humankind are also the moments that make humans kind. Let every dawn find us courageous, brought closer, heeding the light before the fight is over. When this ends, we'll smile sweetly, finally seeing in testing times, we became the best of beings.
Thanks, Chris. Sue Garland will do our third reading this morning, and it's I'm Worried by Mary Oliver.
I love Mary Oliver, and when I saw this poem that Jane chose, I said, this is me a lot of the time. So I Worried by Mary Oliver. I worried a lot. Will the garden grow? Will the rivers flow in the right direction? Will the earth turn as it was taught? And if not, how shall I correct it? Was I right? Was I wrong? Will I be forgiven? Can I do better? Will I ever be able to sing? Even the sparrows can do it, and I am, well, hopeless. Is my eyesight fading, or am I just imagining it? Am I going to get rheumatism, lockjaw, dementia? Finally, I saw that worrying had come to nothing and gave it up and took my old body and went out into the morning and sang.
Thanks, Sue. That's one of my favorites. Right. Each of these readings show different aspects of hope and resilience. And now we'll hear Kara Roth sing our next hymn, familiar to all of us, I'm sure, We Shall Overcome.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do shall all be free. We shall all be free someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall all be free someday. We are not alone. We are not alone. We are not alone someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we are not alone someday.
Kara had recorded that a while ago, and you can see if you looked at the list that it was related to the Black Lives Matter and the people that we have lost through the problems. Okay. Now, we're going to lead into the next part of the service, which is called reflection and sharing. Part of the fun of doing these lay-led services is that we'll have an opportunity for the community to contribute, as we often did during the summer services. And before we come to the sharing, I would like to start with a hymn called Lift Every Voice and Sing, which some of you may be familiar with. This inspirational song was first written as a poem by NWACP leader James Weldon Johnson in 1898. Then, the next year, his brother, John Rosamond Johnson, set it to music. The song was first performed in public in the Johnsons' hometown of Jacksonville, Florida. It was part of a celebration of Lincoln's birthday in 1900, sung by a choir of 500 school children at the segregated Stanton School, where James Weldon Johnson was principal. This inspirational song soon spread across the South and was declared the Black National Anthem by the NAACP in 1919. Although familiar across the African American community for a century, many people in this country were not aware of it until it was first performed at George H.W. Bush's first inauguration in 2001. In 2019, the NFL decided to play this inspirational song before every football game. So it is now familiar to a wide variety of Americans. As you listen to this anthem, everyone's muted, so feel free to sing along. The words will be on the screen.
Rejoicing, rise high as the listening.
I would think I should get up and march or something with that song. I find it very inspirational. This morning, we've shared thoughts of hope and resilience through poetry and music. And now it's time for you to share with us. I'd love to hear from those of you who may have some comments on something in the service you found hopeful or led to resilience, or it would be great to hear your own views on hope and maybe some tools you have for resilience. So now we're going to open up the screen for sharing. Oh, good. I'm finally back. All you have to do is raise your hand and make sure you unmute. Sally. No, not you. Okay, I thought I saw your hand raised. You got to be careful. Karen Kelly.
I just want to say that the children's choir was not just beautifully sung, but the message was inspirational. I thought that, you know, if their children, and not just those children, but children can believe that they have a voice, they can speak up, that just gives me hope for the next generation and every generation thereafter.
Thanks, Karen. Okay, who's next? I'm waiting. Lauren. You're muted, Lauren.
All right, I think I'm okay now.
Yeah.
Just want to say I couldn't help but notice the date on that last song. It's 1900, and how you could almost guess that it was done recently.
Yeah.
You know, I bet back then they were hoping that they would have overcome so much of what they're singing about so that we wouldn't have to still be singing about the same thing more than 100 years later, you know?
Thanks, Lauren. It's true. It was written when Jim Crow first had come into existence, and it was in response to that. Joan.
I just want to thank you for giving us that historical piece before Lift Every Voice, because it put it in such a context with the Black man of experience who wrote the lyrics, his brother who wrote the music, and how for so long only a part of our country was hearing it and benefiting from it. But it's true. Starting with the Martin Luther King days, breakfast, starting probably about 20 or more years ago, that was when I first heard this song, and I understood it was the Black anthem, but I had no idea of the time in which it emerged, and when, you know, more recently, as we've heard of what the reaction was in counterweight to Lincoln's efforts at erasing slavery, it just feels so poignant today because so much of the struggle continues. And yet in the spirit of hope and resilience, it does feel like more people are listening, and listening is the first step to acting. And may we all find ways to act accordingly.
Thanks, Joan. Adam.
I really liked some of the poetry that you chose for this service, and I felt like the one that you assigned to me really actually spoke to me the most. But I loved how it described how nature and peace in contemplating nature can help you give solace to some despair. Like the poem says, you know, this author was fearing of what his life and his children's lives may be, and I often share that same sort of sentiment. But another thing that helps me get through that moment of despair, or those moments of despair, is it can be summed up by this line from, I think it was To Kill a Mockingbird, the novel by Harper Lee. I think it's from then, but when Atticus says, courage is going forward even when you know you're licked. I find so much to hold on to in that statement, even when you know things are going badly. You just have to have that hope, that resilience, like we've been talking about. That gives me courage sometimes.
Thanks, Adam. All right, let's hear some more. Okay, Judy.
This is one of my favorite poems, and it's familiar, and I think everybody would like to hear it. Emily Dickinson's Hope. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words that never stops all. How dare you? And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could have bashed the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, and never yet in extremity it asked a crumb me.
Thank you, Judy. That's one of my favorites too. Amanda? Or maybe
It's Jamie. Go ahead.
Jamie. Okay, Jamie.
I hope that we get to have church in person again soon.
Oh, I agree with you. That's a big hope for all of us, Jamie. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, who else? I'm sure we have lots more ideas on how about being resilient? Or what kinds of hopes do you have? Jamie shared a good hope. Christina.
I hope that we all are able to get the vaccination in a proper amount of time, and that things will be better organized so that we can do just that.
Thanks, Christina. I am scheduled for my first one on Friday. So I hope everyone gets it as soon as you can. Okay. Chris.
I hope that we have the strength to endure, because I think endurance is kind of the expression of my rather miserable hope. I hope that we get through this all, but it involves grind. And I'm used to grind. I hope we all have the strength for that.
That's a great hope. Thanks. Who else? Maria.
Well, I'd like to say that through my job, I actually did get the first dose of the Moderna vaccine. And they just kind of organized that unexpectedly. So I'm hoping there'll be more organization like that that comes along quickly.
Thank you. Just as an aside here, if any of you are patients with social medical, that they seem to be doing a good job. We got a notice immediately to start today, anyone that was over 75. So you can find things and you'll get good things in the mail. I'm sure others are doing the same. I'm just familiar with social medical. Anyone else? But
Just by way of information, Big Y is a registered location where you can get the vaccine shots. I'm actually scheduled tomorrow morning at 10:10 in the morning, so you can line up down there and it's close to home.
Thanks.
Still have to go.
Anyone else? Anything in particular you might be doing to be resilient to get through what we had hoped would be over long ago? Amanda.
On the idea of resilience, it's a poem whose author I can't remember right now. But I'm sorry, quote, it's courage does not always roar. Sometimes it's the quiet voice at the end of the day saying, I'll try again tomorrow. And I've had to repeat that quite a bit this school year. So just try again tomorrow.
I don't know if all of you saw in the, thank you, in the chat that Tony said, my wife died 11 years ago, and the most comfort I received was when I wondered how I would cope. And my friends said the pain will always remain, but it gets less bad. Time heals all ills. Tony, thank you for sharing. And that's also, my husband died 9 years ago. And it was that gave me hope, even in those days when you thought you just didn't want to go on. So there are all kinds of, and friends, for me, friends were another, and still are a great source of helping me be resilient. Anyone else? Karen Rutherford.
Good morning. I have this quote. I used to have it in a poster when I was a kid. And it's a quote from Isaiah. And it's, see, I shall never forget you. I have carved your name in the palm of my hand. And it just makes me think that, you know, somebody's watching over, or a higher power is there and keeping me in their hand. And, you know, I try to remember to keep others in my heart.
Thanks, Karen. Any other suggestions? We can all use hope and resilience ideas. One of the things that's given me, I think, a lot of hope and resilience this year is our church. I just feel so blessed that we have been able, through Monica and so many of you, be able to put things together. Our services, the joy of last night's Soup and Talent, the upcoming game night. It's fun when all days can seem to look alike, to have things to look forward to. Okay, so if no other, people can continue to share in the chat if they like. We're going to head to the offertory. At this time in our service, we receive an offering to support the work of our congregation. In our order of service, you can see you can contribute to the offering using online giving link, text to give, or by mailing a check to the church office. Tony is going to gift us with the music for There Is More Love Somewhere. There is more love somewhere.
There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere.
somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more joy somewhere.
Well, that was my error, unless Tony suddenly changed his voice. Someone asked who sang it. I don't know. Maybe somebody will figure it out. I think Monica sent that to us. Okay, so now please know that First Parish Kingston greatly appreciates all that you give to support our church. Now it's time to extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. Those we carry in our hearts until we are together again. At this time in our service, we are going to stop recording to allow our community to share joys and sorrows. Thank you for joining us this morning.